Across the Atlantic Ocean in the Old World, as we know as Europe, Asia, and Africa, the people there have been warring, dominating, and training each other for centuries on end. Due to this high competitiveness, their knowledge and technology were ever expanding, trying to outcompete their rivals. One important trade route for European nations such as Spain, Portugal, and France was the Mediterranean Sea, from which they traded with Africa and Asia, from where they can buy rich and important goods such as spices, cotton, wood, fur, coal, food, weapons, gold, silver, and huge amounts of other valuable spices and goodies. But around the 14th century, in the year 1453 AD, something disrupted that valuable trade, and it was the Ottomans, an ever-growing power that had captured the major city of Constantinople, ending the Byzantine Empire and starting the dominance of Ottoman rule in their growing empire from Balkan Europe to Minor Asia. They controlled the spice trade routes that Europeans relied on, and due to this monopoly of control, the Ottoman Turks made heavy taxes for Western-bound traders. The Western Europeans, addicted to the spices and Asian goods, weren't so happy about this, and they started planning other ways of obtaining these exotic Asian spices that they desperately craved. But why did the Europeans love them spices so much, alongside other Asian goodies? Well, first I must explain to you what spices are. Spices are made from plants, usually vegetables or herbs, that are made into powder that can be added to food to either give it delicious flavor or preserve food for longer periods of time. It's also used to make medicine. Spices are usually dried but sometimes fresh, such as chili peppers or ginger. The most valuable spices were cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, and saffron. Since spices only were grown in hot tropical places such as in Asia and nowhere else, it was quite scarce in Europe and thus very valuable to have. Now, living as a peasant in the 14th century, your average meal would have been boring old pottage or stale soup that was soaked with spice. Then this delicious flavor-giving sand comes around and blows your taste bud out the door. Knowing that about this deliciousness, you can never go back to eating your old stale meals again. That's exactly what the elites of Western Europe thought to themselves, and the cost of amazing spice was too much to bear to get your hands on due to these pesky Ottomans. So thought the kings of Europe, how can we get spices without the old usual means of buying them from Middle Eastern markets? I got it, yes, said one. And thus began the age of exploration. One sailor by the name of Christopher Columbus had an idea of how to get spices. Since the world is round, we can sail through the Atlantic Ocean to get to the rich lands of India to get spices. The Spanish crown funded his expedition to the west, finding his idea accomplished in both. The island of Cuba was discovered on October 28th of 1492 AD when Columbus' three ships La Pinta, La Nina, and La Santa Maria arrived at the island. In honor of the Catholic king's daughter, his benefactors, Columbus called the island Juana, but later would be called Cuba, deriving from the native word Cubanascan. Columbus believed the island to be a peninsula of the ancient mainland of India, and thus he called the natives there Indians, a name that would be used to describe the natives of the Americas. Columbus would make three more voyages to the Americas, discovering the island of Hispaniola, Bahamas, Venezuela, Jamaica, and Central America.